What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another live stream. Happy Monday, people. We are back again after a quiet weekend, after a busy week last week. We are back, and it is a big week for Arsenal this week. As I said last week, actually, but pre-season begins this week. A lot of the players will be back on the training ground, and we need to get selling, get buy-in, get some contracts signed, and get moving. Pre-season, actually, the first pre-season game is next week. They fly to Germany in the middle of next week. So, you know, we're not far away from the team getting going again and getting playing games. And we want to see the new signings in. We want to see deals announced, and we need to see some players sold as well, because listen, it's that time, innit? You know, we can't afford to be messing around. Big up to everyone. C-Unit Business, Rice Baby Green Screen. When it's announced, we'll do that. Were you at Zaha's wedding? No, I wasn't there, man. Congrats to him, though, of course. I think he's heading to Saudi from what we've been hearing. But big up to everyone. Big up Cello. Big up everyone. Historic week for our club. Will break the internet. Elon settings. You're right. This will be the week that Declan Rice is holding up that Arsenal shirt. This will be the week that we break that £100 million and, break the record of transfer coming into the football club. Timber will join as well. We will break 200 million for the first time in a transfer window in terms of overall deals in. So you're right, this will be an historic week for Arsenal. Yeah, I like the hoodie. Do you know what? It's actually raining at the moment in England, which is crazy. We're in the, start of July, but it is what it is. Big up to the Reggae boys who won last night, 5-0, I believe. Against St. Kitts. So you're bad from which part? Sorry, if you know, you know, people. He's from St. Kitts. Big tune. It is what it is. But 5-0. Next stage of the Gold Cup. Big up the Reggae boys. And hopefully they go on and do well in that competition, people. Happy Sol Campbell Day, people. Happy Sol Campbell Day. Double, double, double. Sol Campbell has won the double. If you know the song, you know the song. On this day, 22 years ago, people, a certain Tottenham captain, their leader, their linchpin, their best defender, joined Arsenal and did the unthinkable. 22 years ago today, the famous news conference where we were supposed to be announcing Richard Wright for £2 million. There was only 2 photographers there. Arsene Wenger walks out with that cheeky smile and brings the Tottenham captain in with him. Sol Campbell rejected Barcelona to join Arsenal. Now, listen, I've said it. I'm sorry. And I know some people said I was delusional in the chat the other day. If Harry Kane runs down that contract and he's a free agent next season, I would be offering him a contract. Will he sign? Probably not. Probably not. But I'd say, okay, if you want to stay in your house and we have a good season, we'll give you 350 grand a week. We know he's a boiled gooner. We saw the pictures with his red hair at Highbury. You know, why not, people? But yeah, happy Sol Campbell Day to all the gooners in the chat and the Tottenham fans in the chat. You always wanted to see Sol Campbell lift the Premier League trophy at White Hart Lane, and he did that. Unfortunately for them lot, he was wearing an Arsenal kit at the time. But 22 years ago to the day that we signed one Sol Campbell. Happy Sol Campbell Day to all of the Gooners, people. I'm telling you, give Harry Kane that contract offer next season. Let's see what he does. But anyway, it is what it is. Let's continue. Let's get into the show, people. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Follow the TikTok, and let's get into it. When is the rice pudding going to be ready, people? Rice, baby. Sammy Mockbell tweeted a couple of hours ago. Arsenal are set to complete a double swoop for Declan Rice and Jurriën Timber. Full agreement for Rice, 95% complete. Verbal deal in place for Timber. Medicals booked and ready to go. Now, it's interesting, isn't it, that 95% complete Declan Rice. Apparently, some of the issues are still over the speed of the payment being given to West Ham, because the reality is to get £100 million over 2 years is very difficult to do for any club. Most clubs would refuse that. Because it's so much money in 2 payments. But we're aware of the fact that West Ham need the money quickly. I think there will be a compromise. It will probably be maybe 3 years, maybe 30-odd million a year. And then I think it's 5 million in achievable add-ons. So, listen, this deal is going to get done. It is frustrating that it's still 95% done. Closer than close. Fabrizio put out a tweet this morning. Oh, it's so close. We're not really interested how close it is until the deal is done. Get the deal done. 95%, 96%, 98%, 99.9%. Just do the damn deal. Now, what is interesting about the Declan Rice thing is there were rumours over the weekend that Asher D out of Top Boy was seen at the Emirates doing some filming. There were rumours that have Arsenal, brought in an actor to come and do the announcement of Declan Rice. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. Maybe he was shooting a scene from Top Boy. And today, funnily enough, for no apparent reason, you can't book an Arsenal stadium tour this afternoon at the stadium. Out of nowhere. Doesn't usually happen, but you cannot book an Arsenal stadium tour this afternoon at the Emirates for no apparent reason. And also on Thursday, apparently, you can't book a stadium tour for the whole day. Now, they're saying, okay, as an Arsenal fan, you do what you do. What we're saying is Declan Rice is probably being announced at the stadium this afternoon. It might not have nothing to do with that. They could be fixing something in the stadium. It could be something quite simple. But people saying it's for Russo, who obviously joined the women's team, which it could well be. But Arsenal fans, they followed Isaac's car around London. You know how Arsenal do, people. So people are saying that maybe Declan Rice could be getting an out. I don't think it is Declan Rice. Because from what we hear, he hasn't actually completed the medical yet. Fun fact, South London's finest, Asher D is actually his cousin. Wow. Interesting. I actually speak to Asher D. He follows me on Twitter. I've messaged him a few times. He's messaged back. So I may ask him whether I'll find out. Hey, South London's finest, holler at your cousin, man. Let him get the information. Was he recording the announcement video for Declan Rice, people? That's what we want to know. Big up Akintan, who said, big up Curtis, my man. Love you, bro. Big up. We love the community, man. Always, always. It's the Xhaka announcement. It better not be, Dre. I'm telling you. But anyway, what do we know about Declan Rice and the latest about Declan Rice? Declan Rice flew back from Dubai on Saturday. Apparently, he wasn't supposed to fly back until early this week. Obviously, he was on international duty with England, so he was given extra time off, as a lot of the ones who played in internationals were given that extra bit of time off. He flew back on Saturday to tie up this deal quickly to enable him to get announced and get involved with Arsenal sooner rather than later. I've got the second part of the story, actually, which is here. So, Declan Rice is set to undergo his medical at Arsenal ahead of his record-breaking move after cutting short his holiday. The player returned from Dubai on Saturday so he can rubber stamp the move swiftly. Now, it's looking like this one will be announced in the next couple of days. I think he's probably doing the medical today. If he came back Saturday, there's no reason that he couldn't be at the training ground doing the medical today. Some medicals last over 2 days. Sometimes it's done in 1 day. But I think Arsenal are really going to try and drag this one out because it's such a big deal and a big announcement. Are they going to go the typical route? Are they going to do Rice Rice Baby as the announcement video? Or do they do something else? I have to admit that a lot of Arsenal's announcement videos are very underwhelming. And I know it hasn't got a lot to do with signing the player. Who cares? Get the player through the door. But I do think, you know, when it's an exciting announcement video, it does add to it. And as we said before, probably since the Aubameyang one, it hasn't really been a hit, has it? That was the best announcement video that Arsenal have done in recent years. It was just an absolute classic. It's still spoken about to this day. But I think Declan Rice will be announced this week. And this is the thing, like South London's fine. Imagine it gets leaked. Now, they got to be careful. Because obviously someone from within the club leaked the Havertz one. So they need to make sure they don't mess up with this one as well. So, yeah, they've definitely got to make sure that they get this one out before somebody else does. That's the issue at the moment. When it comes to Arsenal. So, listen, Declan Rice should get announced this week. Jurriën Timber should get announced this week as well. So, it should be a big week. Declan Rice, according to reports, is having his medical and should get announced in the next few days. What will they announce it with? Apparently going to be a 5-year contract, over £200,000 a week. Deal should be announced sooner rather than later, people. So looking forward to the announcement, because as much as I'm excited about Declan Rice signing, I don't want to sound ungrateful, but I just want it to get done so that we can move on to the next one. You know, we do need more, and I think we will get more done. People saying the Pogba Stormzy one was a big one. That was a big one. That was definitely a big announcement video as well. It's closer than close, people. It's so close you can almost smell it, you know. But it's not done yet. Anyway, Simon said, might be fixing that leak in the roof. Yeah, we all remember that one last season with the roof leaking. Maybe that's why they're closing down the stadium. Cooper said, bless up Curtis and the best community on YouTube. Big up to you, bro. Big up to the community. Goated community, of course. Big up Alfred. He's back. Haven't seen him for a while. Finally catching a stream. Took a mini break from Arsenal-related activities. Hope everyone in the community is being well and achieving their goals. Big up to you, bro, and for the kind words to the community. And a lot more positive now. We're moving forward. We're getting deals done. We're about to announce a record-breaking deal. And I'm looking forward to Declan Rice being done and dusted and announced, and we move on to the next one. And who will the next one be? We know what the next one's going to be, and that will be Jurriën Timber. It wouldn't actually surprise me if this one is announced before Declan Rice, just simply because I think they're going to really do their best with Declan Rice and hold that one back a little bit, just for the simple fact that it's such a big contract. It's such a big transfer fee. And listen, I think they will be doing their best to try and make that one, you know, a huge announcement. But Jurriën Timber, a tweet this morning from Ben Jacobs, friend of the show, of course, saying that Jurriën Timber's move to Arsenal has all been verbally agreed. A medical has been booked. Only the paperwork remains on the deal. This one should be done. £36.5 million for Jurriën Timber, $4 million in add-ons, and he didn't train with Ajax over the weekend when they returned for pre-season training, which obviously means he's on his way out. We all know he's on his way out, and this one should get announced as well. A lot of reports stating that Timber will play at right back for Arsenal. What does this mean for Ben White? Would Timber leave Ajax in the Champions League, playing every week, to come to Arsenal to be on the bench as second choice? Do you think they have guaranteed him that he will start at right back ahead of Ben White? Do you think he's going to have to be competition? Or, I'm just intrigued that he would leave them to come and sit on our bench. But we are a big club and we'll pay him bigger wages. I suppose they would, give him a promise that he will still get a lot of football. So Timber's on his way, people. Timber! He's on the way. £36.5 million. Ghosted said Timber is savage. Did you listen to the Declan Rice song I shared? I did hear it. Timber benches White easy. White will be the third choice centre-back. Rotation is the name of the game. You're right, McLovin. As a City fan, you will know that's why. And you've seen it with Pep. Who at Manchester City really is guaranteed game time? Probably Haaland. Maybe Ederson. Even De Bruyne was being rotated at times, and he's the best centre mid in the league. So I think it's the right thing to do. All of a sudden now, you're looking at right back. You can play Ben White. You can play Timber. You can play Tomiyasu. You know, that is real quality at right back. At left back, you've got Zinchenko and Tierney. At centre back, you've got Gabriel, Saliba, Timber, White, Kivior. I won't say Rob Holding because I think we're going to sell him. So we've got real quality and depth in that defence now. We need that same level of quality in other areas moving forward. So there you go. Timber on his way and Declan Rice soon land, people. Just sold your star to Mikel Arteta. Just sold your star to Mikel Arteta. Yo! Sorry, West Ham. We've took your star, mate. He's on the way. Southern Gunner said, I think this Timber signing is highway robbery. Well, we'll find out. Do you know what? People have been messaging me who watch Ajax. Some people are saying it's a great deal. He's a real talent. Some people are saying he's a little bit rash. He's not. Sometimes a little bit clumsy. Time will tell. You never know, do you? What we do know, he's very good on the ball. He's very quick. He can play centre-back, right-back, can drop into DM if he has to invert. And we'll see what happens from there, you know. Let's see. I'm happy with the signing. It's a massive upgrade on Bob Boldin. You know, we've seen it in the last 2 seasons. Injuries in the middle of defence. The top 4 running collapsed because we didn't have a good enough back 4. Going for the title, we collapsed because, again, we didn't have a good enough defence. And defences win your titles, you know. That's where you got to build from. Simon said, I think sometimes he will start and invert if Zinchenko doesn't play. I hear you on that. Ab said, just sold your star to Mikel Arteta. If that ain't the song for Declan Rice, something's wrong. Big up Abs. B Dizzle, we take so long to announce it ruins the hype. I agree. We do hang on too long. And Cormac said, Curtis, do you think 210 mil has been well spent? I think Declan Rice, we've paid too much, but I think it's just a going rate. The fact that City wanted him, Bayern wanted him. I wanted Arteta to get his first choice, so I've got no problem with us doing that. Timber, I think £36.5 million for a Dutch international who's versatile. I don't mind that, but Havertz for me is the one where I'm definitely not convinced with that signing. I genuinely hope in 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, I'm sitting here going, wow, Havertz, I got that one totally wrong. Kai Havertz is a talent, there's no doubt about that, but I am not convinced by that signing at all. If it works, it's a masterstroke. If it goes wrong, you've had an absolute stinker. Big up Tata Ginger, have you seen the Havertz rumours? Well, I'm going to go on to that next, bro. In fact, let's go to it right now. I hope this isn't true. I really hope this isn't true, people. It's irrelevant whether it is or not, I suppose, but because he's already in the door. But I hope it's not true because he doesn't deserve to be the highest paid player. But there was a rumour coming out of Bild, which is a German publication. Not always the most reliable, but sometimes they are. They've put out an article over the weekend that Kai Havertz has become Arsenal's top earner on a reported £330,000 a week. Now, I'm telling you now, I hope this isn't true. And if it is, what can I do about it? Nothing. He's in the door now. You know, it's irrelevant. But if that's true, they've gone absolutely crazy. Now, what the story is saying is that although Havertz was on 220 grand a week at Chelsea, remember Chelsea apparently said, we want you to sign a new contract or we're going to sell you. And it's believed the new contract that they were negotiating or that Havertz wanted at Chelsea was around £300,000 a week. Whether Chelsea would have paid him that or not, I don't know. A lot of the reports in England were saying it was 220, which is what he was earning at Chelsea. Personally, I don't think he is getting 330k a week. I don't see how he could get that out of Arsenal. And there was reports, I mean, The Guardian, when we signed him, said Arsenal have matched Kai Havertz, £220,000 a week, plus signing on fee. Ornstein mentioned that the wage would be the same with a hefty signing on fee. So listen, I'm not trying to send the fan base into meltdown. I don't think it's 330 grand a week. It's a story, so we're going to talk about it. I don't think it is true. A lot of the articles in England were saying £220,000 a week. So let's not have a meltdown over it. There's no way on earth he should be getting that kind of money. So yeah. Rock said fans complaining Rice too much are the same fans complaining about not getting targets. And listen, Rock, I'm not actually saying that I've got any problem with what we're paying for Declan Rice. I don't mind that Arsenal have spent £100 million on Declan Rice at all. How often do you get value for a player, especially a high-rated English player? We've seen it with Maguire, £75 million for a centre-back that's not even very good. You know, English players cost a lot of money, especially when they're under 25. Declan Rice ain't worth it, but hopefully he'll be worth it to us in the role that he plays moving forward. So I'm not complaining personally about Arsenal paying 100 million. I think big clubs have to do big things. Ross, it's the English tax, bro. We've been saying it for a while. Big clubs do big things. Nobody complains when big clubs spend big money because, you know, that's what they do. That's what they're supposed to do. Curtis, would Daichi take Xhaka in a swap for Onana? I mean, listen, Cormac, Onana's a good player. He's a beast. He's 21 years of age. Would I want Granit Xhaka at Everton? No chance, mate. He makes too many errors, too many mistakes. We're Everton, we're Burnley, we eat bricks, we eat wood, we eat concrete, we eat gravel for breakfast. I'm just not sure Granit Xhaka could do that. So I'll keep an honour over here at Goodison Park, people. We put grannies in headlocks. So there you go, Cormac. He loves the Daishi one every day. Money for the pull-up. But anyway, Robbie mentioned that Xhaka might stay. Your thoughts? And again, hey, Tata Ginger, have you looked in my notes today? Because you keep going on to my next stories here. Yeah, Shaw Dyche, they're calling me. I like that one. That's a good one. I wanted to ask you this. Big up Tata Ginger, who keeps getting my next story. Tell me the lottery numbers this week if you know them as well. This is a discussion point that's going off at the moment. And I want to know your thoughts on this, people. I want to know your thoughts. And this leads into the next story, actually. So this is going to involve the Lavia situation at Arsenal. We've seen that Lavia is... It's believed that Liverpool are at the front of the queue to get Lavia. Lavia is a very good player. They're asking for £50 million at Southampton, which I think is too much for a player that's had one season in the Premier League at a club that finished bottom of the league. You shouldn't be getting £50 million for Lavia, even though I do rate him. Liverpool making moves, by the way. They signed Szoboszlai, who I think is a very good player. Obviously, McAllister, and now Lavia could go there. So... you know, they're rebuilding that midfield, that's for sure. But there's a discussion point now that Arsenal may be dropping back from the move for Lavia for the simple reason that they are going to keep one of these two. Now, if you're listening and you're not on the screen, obviously I've got a picture of Thomas Partay and Granit Xhaka. Now, there are stories that Arsenal are going to keep one of them, which would mean they don't feel that Lavia is required. That still worries me a little bit because I'm still thinking, okay, if you're going into next season with 4 centre midfielders, Jorginho has said that he's staying. Declan Rice has been signed. And then you're probably looking at... I personally would keep Partey depending on if there are any issues off the pitch. And then the fourth one's probably going to be Mohamed El Neni, who Arteta said he would give him a new contract. As a 4, that for me is not good enough. I'm going to be totally honest. I don't think that's good enough. I think you should be getting rid of El Neni and bringing in another midfielder with Declan Rice. You need 4 high-quality centre midfielders to go into the Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup. I'm going to put the first poll up of the day, and Fitz is in the building, put in the super chat. Please get rid of Xhaka. Now, I'm in that same category, respectfully, because Granit's just had his best year, but we've had to wait too long for it. Who would you keep next season? Xhaka or Partay? Who would you keep out of those two? Let's just judge it purely from a footballing point of view. We don't know what's going off or not going off with Thomas Partay, right? So I'm just saying from a pure footballing point of view. For me, Arsenal have to keep Thomas Partay. I think we're very quick as a fan base sometimes to forget what a player has done during that season. Thomas Partay was one of the best centre mids in the league until the end of March. We won't talk about April and May when he looked like a 55-year-old Eric Jemba. But we'll forget about that. You know, the whole team basically collapsed at that point. Now, some of you in the chat saying Partey's unreliable and injury prone. KS said, Partey's unreliable, he can't stay fit. Now, Hal B says, keep Xhaka for the theatrics. We can't have no more of that. I bet you're happy at the moment, aren't you, Hal B? Liverpool fan, you're making moves. People saying that Partey's unreliable, but Partay played 33 games out of 38 last season. He missed 5. 2 of them he was on the bench, so he only missed 3 games through injury. Also, we've been building our whole midfield around him for 3 years. He's been the main focus with Granit Xhaka next to him, who, let's be honest, outside of last season has not really performed at Arsenal. So I would argue this is the best time to keep Thomas Partay because, number one, if you've got Rice and you've got other players coming in, you can take him out and go, listen, you can have a break this week. You don't need to play 38 games a season. We can rotate you. We can rest you. We're bringing in legs in Declan Rice, somebody that can run and you know, take some of that pressure away. So for me, Arsenal need to be keeping Thomas Partay at the football club. As I said, unless there's some issue with what we've heard about going on off the pitch and Arsenal are just trying to avoid a PR disaster by getting rid of him. I don't know. Now, he described Havertz as a midfielder, who I think could possibly play in an attacking midfield role. But I'm just thinking, away from home, especially against better opposition, your Man Cities, your Liverpools, you know, teams like that, where we've really struggled to go there and get points. Imagine how solid Thomas Partay and Declan Rice as a midfield pivot would be defensively. It's solid, it's strong, it's powerful. It gives us what we need defensively. At home, when you want to go for it and be a bit more attacking, yeah, maybe you could play Declan Rice as a lone 6 and then drop Havertz and Odegaard in front of them and go and dominate the ball. I think keeping Partay and having Declan Rice and then Jorginho, I would still buy one more, by the way, but I think we have to keep Thomas Partay. I think you'd probably see the best of him this year because you've got better players around him this year. Gunnar Live said, yo, Big C, need help from the chat. I'm based in Brooklyn, New York. I'm looking to buy the Arsenal Jamaica top. Can't find it anywhere. Want to go to the game in New Jersey. Respect. Arsenal forever. Big up Gunnar Life. I was at the Armory last week and I didn't see that shirt anywhere in the store. Because the problem that you have with a lot of these shirts, they're considered limited edition. So if anybody knows a website anywhere that's still selling it, feel free to chuck it in the chat. Let Gunnar Life know. I don't know personally anywhere that sells it in England. People saying eBay, maybe you might find it. Yeah, possibly. People are reselling it, maybe. But big up for you for the super chat, bro. And Simon said Partey will benefit with Rice being there and having to rotate and keep his minutes down. He's great when 100% fit. You're spot on. You're absolutely spot on because you look at the last 3 years. When he came in, we had Xhaka not doing nothing, El Neni not really doing anything, and Dani Ceballos. The year after, you've then had Xhaka, again, El Neni, Jorginho. In fact, you've had Lokonga as well. When have we really said, Thomas Partey, there you go. We paid 45 million for you. We had Robbie spinning around the Emirates dancing for you. Where's the quality midfield partner? We said for years, we wasted Santi Cazorla by not putting a top quality DM next to him, right? Coquelin was decent and then, you know, Hazard made him do a backflip. He was never the same since. And then by the time we got Thomas Partey, Cazorla's gone. We don't have the ball player to play next to Partey. So then Partey's playing next to players that aren't good as him. This could actually be the year that you're putting quality around quality in midfield. So I would definitely keep Thomas Partey. Don Robbie funded and paid for Declan Rice. Fair play to him. Tito said Partey is a fantastic player. If we can play him alongside Rice, that midfield would be unbreakable. Do you know how solid that midfield would be? That allows your players in front to go and, play without even having to defend as much. Andre said Partey must stay, sell Lokonga and El Neni. Totally agree. Kimani said Hazard did Coquelin bad that day. It was embarrassing. Seeing our enforcer do a backflip on Stamford Bridge pitch, man, it was crazy. Brazy on big up the Twitch gang as well said Big C for simple availability reasons. Now the amount of games we will need strength and consistency. Xhaka should stay regardless. I think we had another midfielder if Xhaka stays and Partey leaves. Partey is phenomenal for the first 66% of the season. As much as people don't want to hear it, other than attacking players and Odegaard, Xhaka was our most consistent player. I hear you. I'm not actually going against what you're saying. But I just think going into the Champions League, playing against better opposition, and taking some of the pressure off Thomas Partey by him not having to play every week, I think you get a better Thomas Partey then. I hear what you're saying, and I do say it about availability, and Xhaka does hardly miss a game, but I just think the Granit Xhaka story is finished. It's like completing the book and starting again. You've read it. You don't need to start again. We know what Granit Xhaka's going to do. He did have a good season last year. I think it's just time to move on from him. If you was keeping him as a squad player, I wouldn't have particularly gone mad about it. But he's got an opportunity to go to Leverkusen, sign a 4-year deal. I think Xhaka will want out as well. I think once Rice is announced, you'll see movement on Xhaka. That guy D said Curtis has his own dedicated till in the armoury. Listen, I know. We're back in the Champions League. I've grabbed a bit of merch, but I ain't Ty. Ty's got serve yourself in the armoury, just like Tesco. He just beeps it himself and pays, But big up that guy D, slandering me in the comments, but I'll take it. A said, I can't lie, Granit Xhaka 34 has always been one of my favourites, but Thomas Partey 5 is world class. I mean, Granit, listen, he's committed to the cause, but I think it's time to cash in. Simon said, I think Xhaka goes, but the club want more than the 12 million euros, especially with the prices. So, where this sort of complication is coming in now is that Arsenal apparently have gone to buy Leverkusen and said, listen, we want more than £12 million for him. 15 million euros, 12 million pound is not enough money for a guy that's just scored 7 goals, 7 assists. Swiss international, he'll be playing at the Euros, played at the World Cup, had a good season. Apparently now they want closer to 20 million. Now, even though I agree you should be getting 15 to 20 million for him considering the season he's had, I just hope this doesn't scupper the deal. I hope that doesn't scupper the deal because I think sometimes when a player has a good season, it makes people think you have to, keep them at the club. I think this is a good time to get rid of Granit Xhaka because he's difficult to shift because he's on a decent wage. So I would say, listen, give us 20 million euros, which ends up being 16, 17 million quid, and shift him. Move him on. You had a good season last season in a new role. It still wasn't quite enough to win us the title. 4-year deal in Germany, playing for a good team over there at the age of 30. I think it suits him down to the ground. And I think we should cash in on him and move him on. I would not be giving El Neni a new contract. I would let him go. He's out of contract this summer. And Jorginho, I mean, look, he said he's going to stay. 1 year left on his deal. Keep him as a backup player. So for me, Jorginho, Partey, Rice, and I would sign one more, whether that's Lavia, Caicedo, Milinkovic-Savic, whoever. That's a quality 4 then for me. I don't want to start seeing El Nenis and Xhakas in our 4 going back into the Champions League. It's just not the answer for me. Nathaniel said 20 million is fair. Time for him to go. Keep Partey. Goat Genio and Rice link up. Says Shax. Kiji said, I heard Xhaka was singing Lumidi. Uh-oh. If you want me to stay, I'll never leave. No, man, he has to go, man. Big tune that was, by the way, back in the day. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Yo, them old school bangers, MTV bass. And Gibb said, we are just signing midfielders this summer. Well, we need to get some other positions as well. I still believe we need to get an attacking player. African Soldier, big up Big C. We need Rice for the party, you know. Exactly, man. You know what I mean? We need Rice for the party, man. Yeah, I read that one, Simon, didn't I, about clubs paying more. That was a big tune. MTV-based settings, man, you know what I mean? The only 3 channels we used to really turn on. MTV Base, Channel U, probably based in the UK, that was, and Kiss. They were the only 3 channels back in the day you could hear hip-hop, R&B and stuff, you know, on the music channels, you know? I don't know if people even watch them channels anymore. That guy D, yeah, MTV Base and Channel U. You know what it was, man, back in the day. They were the only channels you listened to, man. You couldn't go on, like, The Box and MTV and them, you know, they're playing pop music on this. So, yeah, man. But listen, let me end this poll. 84% of you say Thomas Partay. 16% say Granit Xhaka. So you've made your feelings clear, and I totally agree with that. Thomas Partay, for me, is a no-brainer. Still got 2 years left on his contract. Keep him for another year, and if anything, sell him next summer. And that's that. Channel U was crazy back in the day. Yeah, man, TI. Can you see me settings? Curtis in his nostalgia bag. I'm getting older. It was my birthday last week, you know, so I'm all, yeah, Rap City, BET, Rap City, man, in the basement. Tigger, yo, it was serious back in the day, but hey. The Dipset one is one of the best ever for me. But anyway, let me talk football before... Oh, Swiss Cry, by the way. I'm sorry, I had to just click on that. That's one of my favourite UK tunes ever. But let me not completely lose track, because if I start talking about music, we're finished. I won't talk about football again for about another 20 minutes. 106 and Park as well. Listen, let me stop. Let's talk football, people. Arsenal being linked today with another Manchester City player. McLovin, if you're still in the chat. Maybe we're just going to become Manchester City reserves and sign all their players. But we're being linked with another player. Now, part of me, when I read this story, part of me was like, nah, no chance. Not going to happen. But then part of me thought, maybe. Arsenal being linked with Manchester City centre-back Aymeric Laporte. From City, left-footed, Spanish international, very good player. Let's get one thing clear. You're talking about a quality player here. City paid £65 million for him when they signed him from Athletic Bilbao. He's been at the club since 2017. He's been displaced with the likes of Diaz, Stones, Akanji, but he wants out. He wants out. And the Euros is at the end of the season. McLovin says no chance. I mean, the rumours are that Laporte wants out. Again, it's one of them. Would they sell him to us? How concerned is Pep by Arsenal as a title challengers? Last year, he sold us 2 players. Would he sell us 2 players this year? Now, I'm not going to stay on this story for too long because I've got to be totally honest. I don't see it happening from any angle, really. He's 29 years of age. He's a left-sided centre-back. Would Arsenal bench Gabriel to play Laporte? Now, I rate Laporte, and some of you might say that Laporte is better than Gabriel. That's a discussion that we could have. I don't know. But the thing is, Laporte is 29 and Gabriel's 25. And you know we're trying to build a younger squad. Why would you give up a 25-year-old that was one of our best players last season for a 29-year-old Laporte? Laporte's had a few injuries. He's on a bigger wage as well. I just don't see it happening. Would I take Laporte at Arsenal? I would. I'm going to be totally honest. Strength in depth, quality, experience. He's a winner. He's very good on the ball. I would take him. But I think Arsenal have got Gabriel and Kivior as that left-sided centre-backs. And then you've got Saliba and Ben White or Timber as the right-sided centre-back. I would take him as in terms of the quality, the level of quality that he's at. But I don't see it happening. I don't see Arsenal. Apparently City want 35 to 40 million pound for him. Listen, I would take him, but I don't think it will happen. I just don't see it happening. I'm not sure whether Pep would allow him to join us. And if he did, I mean, he's on 120 grand a week according to this, which is actually, I thought he would be on bigger wages than that, to be honest. But yeah, 120 grand a week. So his wages are not astronomical. You know, we've got people like Ben White on 120 grand a week, but I just don't see it happening. I would take him. It's not a priority signing though. So quality player, another Man City player. Jason says, done, sign him up. Listen, if we were just going to keep spending extravagantly all summer, I would take him, but I just don't think it's somebody that Arsenal will go for. But listen, if they did sign him, I would not be complaining. I like him. Highbury's local badger said, last year Pep sold his rejects. Man City won't sell Laporte to us. Don't believe the hype, deluded fans. Do you know one thing I looked at? Is when you look at the two players that Pep sold us, and I'm not disrespecting the two players because I think they're both quality players and they've improved us. I still think, especially with Gabriel Jesus, there's another level for him to go up because that injury slowed down his season. But ultimately, you've got to look at Zinchenko stepped in at left back when, you know, Mendy had issues and got taken out and Delph left. And but he ended up playing Cancelo there, who's a right back at left back. So Zinchenko stepped in at left back and did well, but ultimately Pep never really put his faith in him and said, you're my left back for a full season. He filled in a gap. He was a stopgap. When you look at Gabriel Jesus, as much as I've always thought Jesus is a good player, not necessarily a great player, when Sergio Aguero left Manchester City, Jesus was the only striker that Manchester City had, and he still didn't play him up front. He was still playing Sterling false nine, Foden false nine, and Jesus was still sitting on the bench or being played right wing. So if we're going to look at it from the harsh reality, which is what we do on this channel, we're not sugarcoating things, Pep didn't trust Zinchenko at left back for a full season, and he didn't trust Gabriel Jesus to play up front and lead the line when they had no striker. So the reality is, as much as we dress those two signings up, they were never main starting players in that Man City team for long periods of time. Where Laporte has been a regular in that City team in years gone by. Cancelo, you know, I think McLovin just said there, he got in Premier League Team of the Season at left back. He was outstanding that year, especially going forward. So I think there's a real difference between Pep selling us Zinchenko and Jesus and giving us people like, you know, Laporte and Cancelo and players of that ilk. So yeah, I don't see him letting Laporte come to Arsenal, that's for sure. And I don't see Arsenal really going for him. Anyway, let's move on. Let me get into a few of your comments before we do move on. CD Clip said, they sold us players to then go and win the treble. Stop overhyping City rejects. I mean, he didn't, listen, let's put it that way. He didn't mind selling those guys to us. He didn't see us as a threat, you know. They were players who, they were his clothes that he was putting in the, you know, in the charity bag. He didn't mind letting them go. Jesus is perfect as a winger, not a striker. Connor says facts. Jesus before the World Cup was fire. The only thing is, he did go on a run, I'm pretty sure, before the World Cup where he didn't score for like 8 or 9 games. So even he was having a little shaky spell. McLovin said Sterling is starving at Chelsea. Yeah, he's having a bad time there. Poch might revitalise him, but he's had a tough time there. He has. Ream said he won't do it again, though. We should have won the league in hindsight, our own failure. Yeah, because the thing is, you look at it and think, if Arsenal would have got over the finish line, people would be saying, Pep's had an absolute howler. He sold 2 players to Arsenal who've improved the level of the team and the mentality inside the dressing room, and they've gone and won the Premier League. He would have probably been criticised for selling them. But because we bottled it, then it looks like, oh, it don't matter. He only gave you the leftovers. Yeah, he was missing sitters. I think people saying he went 10 games without scoring. Connor doesn't rate him. He said, you're missing the facts. Jesus wasn't very good when he came back from injury regardless. He's not hungry. Oh, do you know what? I wouldn't question his hunger. I've got no problem with Gabriel Jesus' hunger. I just think his game's changed since he's been at Man City. He was considered like the best upcoming striker coming out of Brazil. And I think at City, he's changed him. He's not a goal machine anymore. But listen, he got 11 league goals. He missed 3 months. Maybe in them 3 months, he could have got another 5, 6, 7. If we can get 17, 18 plus league goals out of him this season, you get 15 out of Martinelli, 15 out of Saka, 10, 12 out of Odegaard, 10, 12 out of Havertz, maybe 6, 7 out of Rice. You can win the title that way, you know? So, yeah, we'll have to see. I think he's not a bad finisher, but he's not in the penalty area enough for me. John Layat said, big tuna wheel up also. I remember that day we signed Sol Campbell. That was a shock, but yeah, man. What a day. Can we do another one? I'm telling you, Harry Kane next summer. Dre said he also missed sitters. Give Balogun a chance. I'm with you on that. I'm with you, man. Ballas needs a chance. It's Balogun's birthday today, actually, so happy birthday to Balogun. Will this be Balogun's last birthday as an Arsenal player, or will he still be an Arsenal player next season? That is the discussion that we will be having, and we'll talk about it now, actually. Mark McAdam did a report about an hour ago on Sky Sports talking about an exodus at Arsenal. Now, as I said, from June the 30th, all loan players return to their parent club, which means our wage bill is sky high right now because we had 11 players out on loan and they've all returned. Now, Mark McAdam saying on Sky that Arsenal are exploring potential exit routes for Nicolas Pepe, Balogun, Sambi Lokonga, Tavares, and Cedric. He also went on to say, because I did watch that clip, that Arsenal are open to the possibility of selling Marquinhos if they can't get a suitable loan for him, which is strange, really. You sign a teenager from Brazil who you obviously think's got potential, you loan him out for 1 year, and you're open to selling him. I mean, I'm not saying Marquinhos is good enough to be a first-team player yet, but surely you would give him more than 1 season. First of all, Sky are not the best when it comes to transfers. I'm pretty sure the majority of you know that now. Follow the right journalists and the right people. You'll get the news way before Sky. I'm not sure if Arsenal would sell Marquinhos that quickly. The disappointing name, obviously, on that list is Balogun. And my concern with Arsenal was always that Arsenal buying players like Rice, like Havertz, like Timber, spending over 200 million, I genuinely believe that Arsenal are going to have to sell somebody who recoups a decent amount of money back for them to balance the books. If you look at the last few years, our ability to sell players has been shocking. Now, I think that if players... You got to think, if you get rid of Balogun for 30, 35 million, which is the price they're talking, which I think is poor business. But if we get 35 for Balogun, let's say we get 15 for Xhaka, and then your Tavares, your Lokongas, your Cedrics, you get a 5 and 8 or whatever, and you get 70, 80 million, 100 million back in the kitty, that's going to balance out the books. But I do think that somebody's going to have to be sold for a substantial amount of money. Now, there were rumours it was going to be Tierney, but Tierney's gone quiet, which is good news because I want to keep Tierney. But I think Balogun will be that player that we get rid of and try and make 30, 40 million on, which is a real shame because for me, I would be keeping him all day long and selling Eddie and Nketiah, but it is what it is. Geordie said Balogun should easily be 40 million plus. I mean, you look at Rasmus Højlund from Italy, got 9 league goals last season in Serie A, and they're demanding £60 million from Man United. Now, I know Serie A is probably a better league than the French league, but he's 21 years of age, Balogun. He's just scored 21 league goals for an average team in the French league, and he's starting for the United States up front. How on earth can he be worth £35 million? He should be worth £50 million. You're selling him from Arsenal. He's an international. He's 21. He's a striker. It's one of the worst striker markets I've ever seen. He should be £50 million in this market with ease. Balogun most valuable right now, 45 million, said James Bond. Franklin says, is it poor business? He scored those goals in Liga. Nobody is paying 50 million for him. But what I'm saying, Franklin, if if he was doing that in the French league and he was contracted to somebody in the French league and a Premier League club came in for him, they'd probably quote 50, 60 million for him because of his age, because of the amount of goals, because he's an international. But because he's on loan from Arsenal and we do poor business when it comes to selling, we'll probably get 30 to 35 for him, you know. You look at some of the players that have gone for, you know, more money than that. Dre said they should put a buyback clause in the contract. Arsenal need to start doing some better business, 100%. Because, and some of you have said it, my concern is that Balogun is going to be Gnabry Part 2. That's my concern. You know, he's being linked with Leipzig. Leipzig have just sold Szoboszlai for £70 million. So if Leipzig turn up at Arsenal's door saying, we want to sign Balogun, I'm going, well, you just got 70 million. So you got to give us at least 45, 50 of that. Let me answer this comment. Temmie's going for me. He's going, please stop the hypocrisy, Curtis. He scored goals in a rubbish league and he's a striker for USA. Let's be honest, they are rubbish as well. I mean, I think we've got to put that into context, right? We saw England against the United States in the World Cup. That wasn't an easy game. And England are rated one of the top 5 countries in the world. So I wouldn't say USA are that bad. You know, Timothy Weah, who's American, has just signed for Juventus. You're also talking about the French league. So do we ignore any player that rips apart the French league? Is that what we do? Because Eden Hazard came from the French league. Mbappe came out the French league. Robert Pires came out the French league. Thierry started in the French league. Nicolas Anelka came out the French league. So anyone who rips up the French league, are we just going to say, well, they're rubbish because it's the French league? It don't work like that. We know, yeah, sometimes a player thrives in a league that isn't as good. But there are players in the French league that are ballers that we would take. Look what Payet did in England. So I think you're off with that comment. I think you're way off with that comment, to be fair. Tammy needs a nap. Just, you know, that was borderline a timeout. I can't lie. Has Kylian Mbappe ever played in any other league other than the French league? Exactly. And he's probably the best player in the world. But he come from the French league, you know. So according to Tammy, he's rubbish. But anyway, Laka outscored him. He did. Now Laka, yeah, cool. I get that. But Laka's at the back end of his career. Balogun's 21 years of age. He hasn't been given the opportunity to prove himself in this country yet. So why would you not give him the opportunity? Lefty said, bang on Curtis, bro. Gnabry Part 2. Must be a buyback in there. Yeah, because we did. How we allowed. I don't know if you heard. I'm sure a lot of you did. But basically what happened with Arsenal. We got absolutely hustled in the Gnabry deal. What happened? Bayern Munich wanted Gnabry. Bayern Munich knew if they came to Arsenal to sign Gnabry, with a year left on his contract still, that we would ask for a decent amount of money because it's Bayern Munich. So what they did, they helped Werder Bremen sign him by funding the deal. Werder Bremen kept him for a year and then sold him to Bayern Munich the year after. So Werder Bremen, because they didn't have a lot of money, Arsenal were like, it's only Werder Bremen, you can take him for 7 million. Because he had a year left, didn't want to sign a new deal. Werder Bremen were not a huge club in Germany. 7 million. A year later, he goes to Bayern Munich. And then the rest is history. He's now probably worth 70, 80 million. We had no sell-on clause, no buyback clause. Horrendous business from Arsenal. Got absolutely hustled by Bayern Munich. So if we are selling Balogun for 35 million, which I think is too cheap, you should be putting a 50 million buyback clause in there after 2 years. Because if he becomes a superstar, we're getting him back. And I want a 20-30% sell-on clause. Because if Leipzig go and sell him to Bayern Munich for 70 million or PSG for 70 million, I want Arsenal to be getting 30% of that. So we've got to be smarter when it comes to selling players. You know, I hope we've got a big sell-on clause in the Guendouzi deal. But yeah, Bayern, they absolutely hustled us badly as well. Any Aluko, anyone? Hey, let's not start all that one. But anyway, in terms of outgoings, we've got to get busy. We've got to get busy. We've got to get selling players. So many players. Obviously, Ainsley Maitland-Niles has left. He was released by the club. Pablo Mari has left. He joined the club that he was on loan at in Serie A. So those two are off the wage bill, which is a positive. We got some, I think we got 5 million for Pablo Mari. Nothing for Ainsley, which I think is poor. Ainsley's being linked with a move to Saudi today, I saw. So he's going to get weighed in if he goes over there. Oh, wow. This is crazy. Somebody just showed me this. This is unbelievable. I mean, this is a tweet from Tonali. So some guy has just put out a tweet. Tonali apparently put this tweet out. 2011, but still, you know, does a leopard change its spots? Tonali put this tweet out a number of years ago about Mario Balotelli. Look at this. Basically calling him a gorilla. Just straight up and down. Twitter, bang. Just hardcore racism. No hiding. He was in Italy in his feelings about Balo. AC Milan and Inter Milan. And this boy, yo, Callum Wilson, you know, Isaac, all you matter. Yo, I'm just saying. If I'm playing for Newcastle and this brother's signing for Newcastle, we might have a quiet word in the car park. I can't lie, people. Tonali, Newcastle, that's your centre midfielder. If I speak, I'm suspended 6 months. But, like, yo, we know some of these things go on in Serie A, but boy, Wilson and you man are parring with this brother. Yeah, all right, cool. The internet's forever, man. You know the internet don't mess around. 2011, you know, long time ago, but still. They don't even try and hide it. Do you know what I mean? It's a mad one. They said he was in tears when he left AC Milan, so he probably didn't even want to come here. Milan probably just said, listen, man, we got financial issues going off. Newcastle offering 60 million. You got to go. So, boy, I mean, people could say he was young, whatever. I'm not interested in that. I got no time for him if they're the kind of madness this brother's dealing with. But, yeah, poor that is. Poor. Very poor. And it's there on Twitter, people. You know the internet, man, they don't mess around. If you were, I always say to anyone, any young footballer, right, or anyone, if you get to a certain level where it looks like you might be quite known, delete your Twitter account and start again. Because people will rummage through your old... And you're putting up things like that. It's wild. It's wild. Young or not, it's still... Exactly. Maybe... Like, listen, man. Come on. Relax. Man saying maybe he's changed his ways. Relax. I mean, geez. I won't get too much into that comment. Because that's outrageous. There's no changing from things like that, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. But we move. Simon said Callum Wilson won't sign a new contract. Now, I mean, I bet a lot of the Newcastle players don't even know about that. It's probably only just come out today. Willakafa bad him up with Lascelles. These people think they're slick. I'm telling you, bro, I'll be taking him in the change room saying, yo, what are you saying, man? What's this all about? You know what I mean? But, hey, it is what it is. Let's move on anyway. Straight down, it's an outrageous comment, you know. I'm not interested if he's changed his ways. But anyway, let's continue talking Arsenal. Let's not waste our time with things like that. And we were talking about Lavia. Fabrizio tweeted this morning, Liverpool are in the race for Romeo Lavia since Monday. They remain keen on signing him along with Thuram. Arsenal are still interested, but it depends on the Thomas exit. Southampton want 50 million now. This one's slowing down now. I think that Thomas Partay might end up staying, if I'm being totally honest. And I think we might back out of this race. Liverpool are on smoke when it comes to midfielders. Szoboszlai's in, McAllister's in, Lavia looks like they're favourites to get him. I think Southampton will have to sell him for less than 50 million. What Arsenal need to be very careful of is, at the moment, there's a lot of midfielders available on the market. Lavia, Thuram, Caicedo, Milinkovic-Savic. There's midfielders galore at the moment. What Arsenal can't afford to do is sit there, try and figure out what's happening with Partey. And by time, if you decide to sell him and Xhaka, a lot of these quality players have moved, you know. So they need to be very careful. I hope that they've just decided that they're going to keep Thomas Partey, because if not, you're gonna run the risk of these guys moving. If Liverpool get Lavia and Caicedo goes to Chelsea, and I saw a link today with Milinkovic-Savic to Juventus, there's a lot of quality available at the moment. You cannot be waiting around what we have done so well at the start of this window is we've come out the traps flying. Bang! Straight out the traps. Timber, Havertz, Rice. Now, as I said, I'm still very questionable on the Havertz deal, but I respect the fact that we've gone for our targets and we're getting them in. With this one, we can't afford to mess around. What you don't want to do is sell Partay late in pre-season, and then you end up with not a lot of time to replace, and you're chasing after players who aren't the ones you actually want. So I think we have to be careful with that one. I think we definitely have to be careful with that one. And make a decision on that sooner rather than later. How long can we keep Partay? Need a future replacement. He's got 2 years left on his contract. So I think you can afford to keep Partay for 1 more year. But if someone offers big money for him, maybe... Listen, if you got me Caicedo, I would allow Partay to leave because Caicedo's like 21, 22. But what you don't want to do is sell him and then you're struggling to replace him. I want that Yann Villa on a free. Listen, I like Lavia. I don't think he's a £50 million player yet. I think you've got to go... Listen, Southampton, you've just been relegated. He's had 1 good year in the Premier League. He should be 35, 40 million max. He's going to be desperate to leave as well and continue playing in the Premier League. So, yeah, I think you've got to hustle Southampton here and get that price down if you're going. But the problem is that a few clubs want him. Chelsea have looked at him. Liverpool are very much in for him. I have to say one thing just briefly. I think Liverpool are going to be back in the mix next season. I really do. I think people have to understand that Liverpool have needed to fix that midfield for a couple of years, still relying on Henderson and Thiago's injury prone. I genuinely think that Liverpool will be back up there next season. I'm not saying they'll win the league, but I think they'll be in the mix. And this is why we've got to get our business done. Liverpool won't overpay. I mean, you look at it, Liverpool have just paid less than we've paid for Rice, for McAllister and Szoboszlai. Now, we don't know how that's going to work out. Are they going to end up better? But they're doing some good business and they're getting it done quickly. Gunning you down said, I disagree. I saw him put a great performance against City. Lavia is quality. 100% quality. I'm not denying his quality, gunning you down. What I'm saying is Southampton have just been relegated. He's had 1 good year. Should they be able to get £50 million out of us? I'm not so sure. Official Kamari, big up, bro. I'm going to put the members link in the chat. I'll pin it for anybody that wants to join because he's asking for the members link. So I'll throw it in there and I'll pin it. There you go. It's pinned in the chat for anybody that wants to join as well. Beggars can't be choosers. Southampton going on like Lavia won't be forcing a move. There's no way they should get 50 million from him. I don't care how good he is. He's had 1 good year. Clement said Lavia isn't 50 million. He's not. He's not. You can't demand that at Southampton. South London's finest. It's a midfielders market this summer. Kone, Gravenberch, Thuram, Lavia. And this is what I'm saying. If Arsenal want to get rid of Xhaka and Partay, sell them now, early in the window, while there's plenty of replacements. Do not wait until the end of the window. Do not wait until the end of the window when it will be more difficult. Over 3K in the chat. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, Super Mick Arteta, right? And I'm not talking about our manager. I'm talking about the guy in the comments. He said, he put up a tweet saying, you know, he might have changed his behaviour. Blah, blah, blah. And I didn't block him because, you know, people are entitled to their opinion. But he said, outrageous tweet, but Curtis, you telling me a racist can't change their viewpoints once they become more mature. Listen, there's certain things that for me, once you can change your behaviour, but there's certain things once you are in that category, even the changed behaviour is not enough, in my opinion. That's just my viewpoint, you know. And the fact that, okay, he may have been young when he tweeted that, but you've tweeted it on a public platform. Like, I'm sorry, nah. There's certain things that nah. Yeah, I don't forgive things like that. I'm afraid. Listen, I could be wrong. Some people in the comments may agree. This is an open platform. I'm not here to block people if they've got a reasonable viewpoint behind it. But I'm sorry, like, you saw the tweet. You know, he ain't criticizing. He ain't swearing about him. You seen the picture, bro. What more do you need to say? I don't think, even if he has matured and said, oh, I don't quite believe in that anymore. Well, bro, there was a time you believed in that. So I'm sorry, bro. I respect opinions, but nah. Respectfully, I completely disagree with you, man. I really do. You know, there's certain things, if you do in life, you can try and change your behavior, but that's always going to stick to you, bro. I'm sorry. So nah, I can't go against that. But hey, we're going to round up anyway, people. If you want to throw some comments in around what we've spoken about. A lot of you just tuned in late saying, what have you missed around Declan Rice? Obviously, Declan Rice, medical set to take place today and possibly tomorrow. And also Urian Timber as well. So we're expecting both announcements. I would imagine they'll be on different days. They're not going to want to... they're not going to want to announce them both on the same day, of course. So it's something that we should see this week. And it's caused a stir in the comments. Listen, I don't want to talk about it for too long because I don't want to go off topic. And it's opinion based. I get what people are saying. He was young. He could have changed. But for me, I'm sorry, man. Like, that's just way too far. But, hey, it is what it is. Big up Official Kamari, who's now a member. Big up yourself, bro. I appreciate you joining. We are going to do a member stream this week. I will let you all know about that one as well. So, big up to Kamari for joining. Connor said, I've liked Nunes since Benfica. I have a soft spot for him, same way as Werner before Chelsea. Yeah, I've got to be honest. I still think Nunes is a good player. I know he got a lot of criticism last season. When Arsenal were linked with him, I wanted us to get him. Mohammed said, Curtis, your thoughts on Milinkovic? Savic available for 30 to 35. He and Rice will cook. Savic is sheer quality. I'm really surprised that no one in the Prem has gone for him, but maybe he lacks mobility. A lot of people have said he's a little bit slow. Maybe the wage demands are high. I'm not sure, but it's an interesting one. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up at Juventus. They're being linked. Clement said, outrageous, disrespectful comment. Exactly, bro. Exactly. Amrabat is the guy to replace Thomas Partey. I like Amrabat. He was brilliant against West Ham, against Declan Rice, actually. But I don't think Arsenal will go for him because of his age as well. And before we round up, Alfred said, my son was called the M-word last year in first grade. He's the only black kid in his class. People are saying Tonali was young. Listen, man. Kids nowadays are more aware through social media and things like that. I mean, people saying, Tonali was 11, 12 years old when he tweeted that. I mean, that's even more concerning for me, that 11, 12 years old, you think that's acceptable. But, you know, listen, it is what it is, people. We could talk about it all day. Fitz said, racists never change what's in their heart. Strong words, bro. Strong words. How is your boy Cedric still at the gas station? Said Never. I think he's on his way out. But people, thank you very much for tuning in today. Really appreciate it. 3,000 of you in the chat. And by the way, Alfred, I didn't even respond to your super chat. Really sorry to hear about that with your son, man. It's something you should never have to suffer, let alone as a kid. But big up to everyone for tuning in. Thank you for your mature discussion, as always. Happy birthday to John Sylvester. He said his birthday was yesterday. Hope you had a great birthday, bro. Thank you to everyone for your interaction, as always. Going to get plenty of content out in the next few weeks. Obviously, we'll be heading over to America for the tour, so really want to get a lot of content done before I go over there. And any signings that happen, we'll get a pre-recorded video out. We'll be live again tomorrow, probably at 4 o'clock tomorrow rather than 2 o'clock. So look out for that. Enjoy your Monday, people. Thank you very much for tuning in. Lick down that like button on the way out. And I will see you all tomorrow, people. Bless.